Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to discuss about the four main pillars of OOPS. In that the very first one is I'm going to discuss about a polymorphism. You know what exactly is the polymorphism? The word polymorphism means many forms. In the name itself it suggests that like a many forms, and in programming it refers to methods, functions or operators with the same name that can be executed on many objects or maybe the classes. What if you want to implement the same methods with respect to different classes? In that case, we just make use of a polymorphism. Simple understanding. Can you tell me the operator in a Python which can be performed for different cases? I mean, for different purpose, or which operator can be used in our different ways? See, when I say I need to perform addition of 10 and 20, I can use the plus operator. This is one way for adding two numbers. So similarly, 10 and 20 are integers. What if you want to combine two words, two strings? Still we use the same plus operator, right? See, hello world. Same operator, but we are using it in our different forms. One with adding addition, adding two numbers, other one to combine two strings, right? So that's an interesting thing about a polymorphism. Like that, just figure it out. Which all functions, methods, operators can be used with multiple objects in a different ways. Okay. So polymorphism in Python means ability of a different objects to respond to the same method or a function call in their own way. Simple understanding is you can define same method within different classes. Same method name can be defined in different classes. We call it like a what? Polymorphism. I have a question here. Write a Python program to find area of a rectangle and also area of a triangle by defining two different classes. So you have two classes here. One is related to rectangle. I'll just call it like class rectangle. And similarly, I'm going to define one more class. Okay. So I'm defining one more class, which is for triangle. Great. Okay. So class triangles and also class rectangle. So I'm going to define rectangle in this instance. We need to find an area. Obviously, I'll just make use of instance variable. So self area of a rectangle is length into breadth. So I'll just call LB. Okay, and then I'll just call self.l is equal to L. And also let me call self.b equals b. I'll define a method. Method is like area. Okay, and I'll call a self. And I'll just ask it to return self.l times self.b. So what is going to return is area of a rectangle, right? Okay, done. So now I'll define one more class already defined. Another class name is triangle. So for finding area of a triangle, it is off into base into height, right? So I'll just define variables, double underscore and a double underscore. I'll call a self. We need a base and also we need a height. Okay, so I'll just call self.b equals b, and also I'll call self.h equals h. And then I'm going to define a method. So I want to find area of a triangle. Again, I'm going to give a same method, area self. But functionality is different. Area of a rectangle formula is different. Area of a triangle formula is different. But we are using a same method name. Okay, so I'll just call off into, right? Off in the sense like a 0.5 into base. So we'll call it self.b times, we'll call it height self.h. Yeah, then simple. Now we need to create an object. So how many objects we need to create? You need to create a two objects because you have two classes. So one related to rectangle. It is expecting length and the breadth. So let me give length 2, breadth 3. And similarly, let me create an object for triangle and let me call class triangle. Even this is expecting two parameters, breadth and height, right? So I'll just give breadth 4 and height I'll just give 5. Done. Can you see here, we have two different classes. One class is for rectangle, another class is for triangle, but both the classes include the same method. Same method name, but functionality is different. Okay, so we all know that usually when we write same names, it has to override, right? But here it will not happen like that. So this area is considered as a separate area related to rectangle. This area is considered as an area related to triangle. That separation is possible in a OOPS because of a polymorphism. You can use a single method in different classes for different purpose. Okay. So now what I'll do, this is done now. So I just want to see the area of rectangle as well as a triangle. So I'll just call rectangle dot area. So it's going to give us area of rectangle 2 times 3, length into breadth is 6, right? Okay, similarly, you can try for triangle, try dot area. See, it's not overlapping or overwriting, nothing is happening. 4 5s are 20, 20 by 2 is 10. See, that's an interesting thing about, polymorphism. Hope it's clear. So same way you can try implementing for 3 different classes. Rectangle, triangle, circle. You have to implement perimeter for all 3 cases. And the method name should be same across all 3 different classes. Okay, first I'll import a math because I want to utilize a pi value. First, let me define a class for rectangle. Okay, done. And then I'll just define a method, double underscore and a double underscore. A perimeter of a rectangle in the sense like length into breadth. We need length as well as 2 times length, 2 times breadth. So length and breadth I'm taking. So I'll just call self dot L equals L. And also I'll call self dot B equals B. And then I'm just defining method which is going to be perimeter, right? So we'll call the same name perimeter. I'll call a self and it has no written. So perimeter of a rectangle is going to be 2 times self dot L plus 2 times self dot breadth. Okay? Yeah. So I'll define the next class. Next class is going to be triangle. Okay. And perimeter of a triangle is going to be 3 sides, right? Okay. So we'll just say like a 3L, or you can say length, breadth, height. So L plus B plus H, something like that also you can say. 3 sides will be there. So I'll just define, we'll just use define double underscore init double underscore, and then it should be, yeah. So I'm just passing self, comma, we want length, we want breadth, we want height. L, B, H. Okay. So we'll just define self dot L equals L, self dot H equals H, then self dot B equals B, and then we'll define a method which is, again, I'm using the same name parameter itself, self, it has to written what? Self dot L plus self dot B plus self dot H. Okay. So done with the triangle, now it's a time for circle. So I'll just call class circle. So I'll just define variable double underscore init double underscore self. It's a radius, right? Yeah. So I'll just call self dot r equals r. Yeah. Then we'll define a method which is perimeter again. I'll just call a self. So I'll just call into return perimeter of a circle is 2 pi r. So I'll just call math dot pi times self dot r. Okay, done. So now we need to define objects. So I'll just call rectangle is equal to I just need to call rectangle class. It is expecting what it is expecting. It is expecting nothing. Yeah. So class rectangle need to take 2 things, length and breadth. I'll just give 2 comma 3. Okay, and then it should be triangle. Try is equal to, I'm just calling triangle. And even this is expecting length, breadth, and height. I'll just give 2, 3, 4. And then circle, I'll just call circle, and it is expecting only one parameter, which is 3, right? Okay, done. So it says like rectangle takes no arguments, but why? I used init in a wrong way here. It should be double underscore init double underscore. I missed a double underscore. You should be a little cautious of it. Okay, then all good. So now I'll just call objects, I'll just call rectangle. See, for in all three classes we implemented the same method, but functionalities are different. It's going to give us the answer with respect to specific thing. This is perimeter of rectangle. Similarly, if you want to know perimeter of triangle, just need to change it to triangle. See, it's giving different answers. Okay, and then so to be circle, circle dot perimeter. So though we are using the same method in all three classes, though we are using though we are using same method, so I'm using same now, but I gave a different indentation. So please be careful about an indentations. Don't mess up. Yeah. So this is the perimeter of a circle. So this is all about polymorphism. Even if you give a same method within a different classes, still it's not overlapping or overriding. So that's a speciality of a polymorphism. You can use the same methods in different classes in different ways. Hope it's clear. Thank you. Happy learning.